welcome to another episode of Angeleno, a journey into my photo book. When I say photo book, it is an unpublished photo book. Unlike many books I have published, I have several that are unpublished, which means no publishers stepped forward to be the one that wants to team up on this and put it out into the world. But I've always thought this would be the most successful of my books, and I've had a few that are doing pretty damn good, luckily. But this one is a labor of love, which I started in 2006, right about the time good digital cameras became available, where it could be digital, but you could put it on a Canon camera with a good lens. And my good friend Henry Diltz, I served kind of as his apprentice for years, as he took photos of all the interviews I did, and he really showed me how to work with people. And I became pretty aware that when I came to photographs, there's few more compelling subjects than fellow humans, because every photo does tell a story if a human's in it. At least it suggests many different possible stories. I like to find out stories. I like to talk to people. Henry taught me that. He talked to rock stars, which put him at ease. So I would talk to people, on the street. People, not everyone would want to talk to me, but usually they did. Like this woman who was on Skid Row. And it was right before one of the missions was giving out a free lunch, and people were lining up. But she was busy doing her hair. She had a little mirror. And I asked her if I could take her photo. She was standing in the sun, and I could tell it would look great. And she asked if she could do her hair first, and then she asked if she'd mind if I waited until she got her lunch, because she didn't want to miss it, of course. And she got her lunch, and she was happy and stood in the sun and smiled. And that's a photo I think would be good for the cover. But each day I'm just going to open it up somewhere and see where we go, because each one has a different story. And there he is. Justin, also known as the Walking Man. I photographed him here on Hollywood Boulevard in front of a poster that was there. I should just give this photo perhaps a unclear intention or meaning. It's really about him, but it's an interesting photo. But Justin is someone I didn't know well, but his path and mine crossed repeatedly for more than 20 years. But it was only in the last few years I was taking these photos that I actually got to know him. I always called him the Walking Man because I was often riding my bicycle all around Hollywood. I lived up in the Hollywood Dell and worked in Hollywood on Hollywood Boulevard, and usually rode my bike, which was a wonderful way to get around. Hollywood wasn't quite as crowded then. This was the 80s and 90s. But all around Hollywood I would see him. He was always walking every day. He's very slender, walking, windburnt. I just presumed that he must have spent every day walking around Hollywood from day to night. I figured at some point he must stop and rest, but I wasn't sure. I didn't know where he started, where he ended, why he was always walking. When I started taking photos, I said hi to him, and I stopped him and asked him for his photo. And he was quite friendly and happy to let me take a photo. It's one of many I took. And he told me he's not homeless. He lives near Universal City, which is just on the other side of the Cahuenga Pass from Hollywood. Universal City actually was part of Hollywood, but they separated from Hollywood, made Universal there. Could have paid taxes in Hollywood, I wouldn't have heard. But I would see him every part of the day. I'd see him in the morning. I remember in the morning he'd always be walking around with a newspaper, the LA Times, arms outstretched, reading the newspaper, always walking. One of my friends suggested that he just kept walking to the end like a Mobile Strip, and then it continued. Somewhere down, around Vermont, it would circle around and then pop him out back around La Brea, and he would just keep walking. Or maybe he turned around. He never really told me. This was near the Chinese Theater. He was wearing his sunglasses. The Walking Man.